You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Williams, recording from my phone because the Riverside is tripping. So this audio is gonna be probably messed up. Anyways, I had to get to y'all today because it is a lot to talk about. There is so much happening astrologically this week. There is so much happening today. So we got to talk about it. If you are riding in your car, prop your phone up, get your hydration. If you're walking, if you're, on the treadmill, or if you are just relaxing and chilling with this new pace of energy, just grab a notebook and pen. Listen to this entire episode because there is a lot of tea. And I'm pretty sure some of this pertains to you in some kind of way. So let's go ahead and get into it. Sunday, June 8th, around 5:11 p.m., Mercury made a conjunction to Jupiter in the 29th and final degree of Gemini. So both planets are preparing to enter into Cancer the following day, or actually the same day for Mercury, but in Gemini, they're wrapping up any final thoughts and realizations that could have taken place over the past year in the Gemini parts of life. So there could be some moments of, wow, that is what this thing is all about. There's something we could have realized or learned over the past weekend. There could have been a lot of communication, a lot of socializing, just a lot of words that could have brought us to a point of mental overload. Just too much talking, too much information, feeling overstimulated. Um, and Jupiter, as he prepares to make his exit from Gemini, um, could have brought us to some kind of final realization. And this realization could be connected to what he has been trying to get us to learn or understand over this past year, and possibly an opportunity, an idea that is going to go with us in the next phase in the Jupiter and Cancer state. More about that soon. Later on this evening of Sunday, June 8th, Mercury leaves his home in Gemini and goes to a little retreat off the river coast of Cancer where he's going to have a quick stay with Jupiter. So he's taking a little time away. Mercury in Cancer does bring us into a completely different pace of thought and communication. This is a more emotional type of communication where we like to feel our way through things. We may need to pull back. We're going to want to talk less. There's going to be a decline in the amount of information that we feel that we can take on when Mercury is in Cancer. And we are going to want to spend a lot of time in our own safe spaces, talking to more emotionally safe people. We can feel a little more sensitive. So we want to watch our tones and, how we talk to people. This is definitely a time where, you just want to be mindful when communicating because things could get lost in translation when Mercury's in Cancer. On the shadow side, we could feel a little overly sensitive. So if you feel like you need to instruct people to talk to you, a little too nicely, or you're being very overprotective over your emotional space, you want people to walk on eggshells, do notice that there is a difference between, enforcing your own boundaries and being kind of controlling and manipulative, which is a shadow side of Mercury in Cancer. So, this is the time that you want to check in with your own emotional body, just really honor a slower pace of doing things and a slower pace of making decisions or responding back to people. And make sure you're being your own emotional safe space before you require somebody else to be that for you. So then today, Monday, June 9th, we have a full day of transits starting at about 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:50, so closer to 7. Mercury in Cancer is squaring Saturn in Aries at around 1 degree. So this is some new energy. There's a point of tension, which doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it is productive. And there are two sides of a coin between Mercury and Saturn here. So that is really building up the energy for this week's Sagittarius full moon happening on June 11th. And this particular transit is looking like there is some sort of serious conversation that needs to be had between somebody. This could look like communication issues, pessimistic thinking after receiving some type of difficult news or critique, challenges that require a solution, and plans that derail or fall through. So we want to stay open and adaptable this week because some things may feel like they are blocking or thwarting our efforts this week. And also pay attention and look out for any harsh communication or communication that seems harsh because remember our mental faculty is more emotional and so things will be taken a little out of context this week, but also people might be talking shit. So like don't gaslight yourself. You know the vibes. You want to also look out for people projecting. So that Cancer Mercury could have people in their feelings and they will tend to project their shit onto you, trying to exert authority over you. There's going to be that dynamic this week with a few other transits. And we just want to be mindful if we are doing that to other people. If we're projecting, if we're manipulating, if we are trying to get other people to carry out our boundaries, I lovingly ask that we stop doing that shit. Okay? I'm talking to myself too. Later this afternoon, around 1:20 p.m., Venus in Taurus makes a square, another 90-degree point of tension to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Even on vacation, my green goddess got to put in a little work. So this square is bringing our attention to what is and isn't going to work moving forward, what we are taking to the next phase and what we need to leave behind. This is including relationship dynamics, some relationship attachments, mindset attachments we have to our sense of security. So that just really means staying in our comfort zone. um Frenemies, people who like don't mean you well or just been giving you question mark energy, that should stand behind. Jealousy, it needs to, right? Maybe, I don't know. Jealousy, um and things like that. So when we see Venus square Pluto, what we see is some type of I'm busting out, like maybe perhaps were told to market this way when you're trying to launch your business and you're like, I don't want to do it like that, I'm gonna do it this way. As a Venus square Pluto dynamic, wardrobe stuff. If people told you, hey, when you go to business meetings, you should wear blazers, and you're like, I'm not wearing a fucking blazer. I'm gonna wear my off the shoulder dress. That is a Venus Pluto, situation where we're trying to break out of somebody else's box. And wardrobe makeup, maybe we don't want to wear like a lot of makeup anymore. And we just want to have our natural look. We don't want the nails, something like that. What we can run into is people trying to tell us how that's not the way to go, that that's not going to work, convincing us that our new ideas um, are not going to work because Venus and Pluto, with Pluto being in Aquarius, can also be tech stuff. So let's say that you decide to get some cosmetic work done and you want fillers, and somebody is just like, oh my God, like, don't do that. And, just telling you what to do, trying to block you, or, you just may feel like people are telling you what's best for you, and you may find yourself over explaining or trying to justify yourself, or you may witness somebody else in this dynamic and this could just look like people criticizing, hating on your passions and desires and your ideas, and you feeling a way about that. And if that is you and I telling someone what's not going to work for them and what doesn't look good for them and what's not the way, respectfully, can we stop doing that shit? I don't care if you're a business coach, if you have all the testimonials, if you're an expert, whatever type of expert you claim to be, God did not give you the insight or the authority to tell someone else what's not going to work for them. So, respectfully, just pay attention to what your heart is wanting you to do. Listen for your next step and worry about yourself. Okay? Later on this evening, about 5 o'clock. It's finally here. Jupiter enters Cancer. It is time. Jupiter is on the shores of Cancer for a whole year. She's in her exaltation. So this is a very different energy from Jupiter and Gemini. So Jupiter and Gemini to me is he was a guy. You ever met somebody who's like really smart, but they kind of crazy? They seem like they've been drinking like espresso all day, a little hopped up, but wise though. Really be saying some profound stuff, but a little cuckoo. That's how I felt about Jupiter being in Gemini because he was in his detriment. But When Jupiter comes into Cancer, Jupiter transforms. Jupiter is in her exaltation, so she becomes, to me in my eye, she becomes the mother of water. She is emotional, she is beautiful, she is wise, she is nurturing, which can also be messy because water tends to get messy and uncomfortable. And she comes to clean up all the shit that Mars kicked over when he was in Cancer, late 2024. So, what was happening late 2024? That's going to be relevant for this transit and for the full moon in Sagittarius. What was going left? What type of tensions were you experiencing? What kind of financial issues, just things not going your way and losing people did you seem to, experience around that time? And what we're going to see is support and some type of relief in that area of life. We are going to be moving into a very different mind space, heart space. We're going to be having more heartfelt conversations about what we really want, how we want to contribute in this life, and how we really feel. There's going to be a point of vulnerability and honesty when Jupiter comes into Cancer. And Jupiter is the principle of expansion and wisdom and higher knowing and abundance. And Cancer is that energy of the home and ancestors and parents and emotions. It's our first experience with our emotions. It's maternal, so it represents the parents and people who nurture and nourish you and how you nurture and nourish yourself. So, Cancer is also where we retreat to find safety and to find nourishment. And Jupiter in Cancer is that wise Mother Earth, Empress, water goddess. She rests by the river. She looks like, if you ever seen Moana, in my mind's eye, she reminds me of Tefiti, but instead of the earth, she comes from the water because she has like that water flower crown or whatever. That's just how I'm seeing her. And she comes to Jupiter, I mean, she comes to Cancer to connect us to our hearts and our heart's bliss, our emotions, and the path that is true for us. There's a lot of conspiring to get us on our true path this year. And so during this year's stay, Jupiter in Cancer is going to expand those Cancer energies in that part of our life, wherever Cancer is for you. She's providing support and also opportunities to connect to your own emotional space, to connect to other people, to nurture your gifts, to nurture the thing that you're trying to pour into the world, and that can be really amazing. That can be a great experience, but it's not going to be without challenge because Jupiter is going to be in a square with Saturn and Aries, and that is going to be a paradigm shift. There's going to be a life path shift happening for a lot of people. Saturn is the principle and energy of contraction. So when Jupiter says yes, Saturn says no, that's too much. You don't need all of that. You can't do all of those things because what's going to happen with Jupiter is Jupiter gives you all the yeses and all the green lights, especially when you are doing your God given natural talent in the world. When you're doing your thing, you're following your heart's bliss, Jupiter's gonna be like more and more and more. You're following your holy grail? Yes. Here's more adventure. You are connecting to the higher self and the God within? Yes. Here is more people for you to coach and work with and collaborate with. And I'm gonna reward you with more knowledge, learn more about it, more and more and more. And sure, more money, whatever. Don't worry about money. Money is like not an option, not an issue. I'm here to make sure that you are getting all the things that you want because you're doing the thing that you were born to do. And if that goes unchecked, we will find ourselves yet again out of alignment because too much of a good thing is not good for us because we are human beings. We do have limitations, and Saturn is here to remind us that, hey, you got a heart and you got skin and you have, a brain that needs rest and that needs food and you got these kids and you cannot do all of that. So that might feel a little debilitating. We could be waiting for all these opportunities and Saturn will be like, no, some of this has to be shaved back, or we'll just feel that limitation in our own bodies. Why? am I so tired and drained that I've been waiting on this opportunity? Because you're human. So, Jupiter in Cancer comes to support us and overall really wants us to learn how to mother ourselves and nurture ourselves and include self care and self nourishment in whatever we're trying to build and whatever we're pouring into the world. We want to learn how to communicate with the body and let the body speak to us and tell us what feels right and come into different ways of knowing what's right for us by listening to the spiritual and emotional parts of our experience, the heart space, how things feel like in our gut, right? That's our second brain. Um, and how to take care of home first and take care of ourselves. Our body is our first home. So, how to take care of our bodies and honor our own sacred downtime because we can't authentically bless the world with our gift if the gift doesn't bless us first. If you don't bless your children and your home first with whatever you're pouring into the world, if you don't honor the people that came before you go out into the world, if something that you're doing is taking you out of flow and harmony in the home space, in the body's needs before you give to the world, you are out of alignment. The water must enter the vessel before it is poured out onto who it's meant to be poured onto. And if spirit, God, the universe is the water, we are the vessel. And so this is a moment that we're going to spend a whole year knowing and wondering and noticing what we are meant to pour and who we are meant to pour that on. And so we get to ask ourselves, am I being the vessel that I've been called to be? And that's going to be revealed through the insights of Neptune and Aries. Am I allowing the water to flow through me first? Through my dwelling, through my body, and then pouring from the overflow into the masses in the order and discipline that it needs to be so that we all can be nourished. And that comes from the checks and balances of Saturn and Aries. And do I understand that pouring what I don't have is pretending, it's performative? If you are not taking care of yourself and your home space, and you are going to serve others, you are out of alignment. You are in a performative energy. It is not true because you don't actually have that, and a cracked vessel leaks its source into places that that water is not meant to go. And so these are the questions that we want to ask ourselves, and we might have to go back and listen to that one more time and run that back because that's a whole word right there. Are we pouring in alignment? Baby, it is so much tea, and that is just Monday. Tuesday, June 9th, about 6 o'clock in the evening at night. 6:54, so maybe like 7, right? Mercury in Cancer is going to make a square with Neptune and Aries. It's a big week for Mercury. A lot of tense conversations happening. So this is happening at about 2 degrees. Neptune is revealing the next step to how we can become that vessel. And we are receiving some downloads and information in our dreams and synchronicities and IG stories that's really speaking to us and daydreams. And once we start getting on our path, you will start feeling this passion rev up, right? So we can feel eager to implement these new things and jump on something right away. But with Saturn and Aries, that's not in alignment. Plus, Mercury is now in Cancer, and communication can feel a little muddled and muddy and confusing and mentally unclear when Mercury is in Cancer, and especially when it's making a contact to the dream world of Neptune. So, this is a time where we're going to want to feel our way through something. We are being presented with new choices, information, opportunities, and we want to check with the body first to see how that is landing in the solar plexus, right? In the gut. How does that make me feel? Do I really want to do that? So running it through the body's intelligence, which is definitely a good idea because, like I said, Mercury, Neptune contacts blurs and dissolves clarity and makes communication feel a little confusing. Comprehension can feel a little confusing. We can have brain fog and just feel, a little tired and just not really on our A game. We can also tend to romanticize and idolize things and people and situations when we have our mental faculties connecting to the dream world. So we want to move cautiously and rely on our discernment and our body's intelligence and our spirit guides and God. And we don't want to rush into anything because the higher self is never in a rush. But you know who's in a rush? Scammers, swindlers, our fear, our anxiety. And these are all the ingredients that come into play when we have Mercury making a square with Neptune. So we want to be aware of making mistakes and rushing into stuff and being scammed and duped by people because there's a lot of fast talkers that come into our experience during this transit. And just sit on something. If you have a contract that you might need to sign this week, you want to read the fine print. You want to ask for the day. If somebody is like, no, this is a great deal, you got to sign now or never, then it's never, because you don't have to rush to do anything. You also want to watch out for people flexing like they something that they not, trying to exert authority over you, acting like they are the authority and that you can't go around them. You have to go through them for something. Just watch out for people being real sketchy this week. And then Wednesday, June 11th, at about 4:45 in the morning, we have our full moon in Sagittarius. What dreams may come true at about 20 degrees of Sagittarius, and you already know the spiel. Full moons are about revelations, realizations, answers to questions, answers or full circle moments to some type of intention that we have planted. And this could be something that we have realized, planted, thought about, wanted to change, wanted to manifest during the Sagittarius new moon that happened late December 2024. But this could also be connected to the solar eclipse that happened during a new moon in December of 2023. So, what was happening around last December and December of 2023? Maybe there has been a whisper to you to embark into a spiritual endeavor like tarot or astrology. Maybe you want to adopt a new belief system, or you want to walk away from your religion, or there is something in the terms of philosophy or law that you have been feeling called to. Maybe you want to learn something different. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to teach something that might require a different skill set or degree plan. Um, and some of us just realize that we are not being the vessel that we are meant to be. So this full moon is squaring the nodes of the moon, which indicates that this is dealing with some fate. This is dealing with our life path. This is dealing with what we need to walk away from and release, and what we should be traveling toward and trusting uh, in the divine to carry us to. So, what's been calling you? What adventure has been calling you towards it? Have you been looking for your holy grail and realizing that you may have been going the wrong way? Um, yeah. Have you, or do you feel like you're arriving at some sort of realization or answer to something? Um, so this full moon in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is always going to be about the big picture, ruled by Jupiter, who, like I said, is in Cancer. So we are connecting to our truths and our honesty. We're getting honest about something. What do I really want to do? I can't do this no more. Have you been feeling like that? That this is not the thing for you. These are not your people. This is not your belief system. Something is not for you anymore. So we want to identify where this full moon is touching you, what house, what part of life. If it's the ninth house, this could be about your belief systems and your spirituality. You could realize astrology is not that different from your religion. It's all connected. If it's your first house, this could have something to do with your identity or your body, your physical appearance. 10th house, this could be your life path, your reputation, or your career, something different. And then seventh house could have something to do with your ideal one-to-one clients or the people who you interact with on a one-to-one capacity, or your marriage or spouse or something like that. So, like I said, the moon in Sagittarius is sponsored by the goddess of water, Jupiter, in Cancer. And she is making a square to Saturn that will be exact next week. And we'll talk more about that. But that is bringing us to some type of life path change. Something is changing paradigms, systems are crumbling, things are not going as planned in the world, and we can already see that. And Jupiter is sitting right next to Mercury in Cancer, so we are tapping into that emotional vulnerability, needing to speak our truth, and needing to know what our truths are. So this feels like a new quest, so you can ask yourself some journal questions. What do I want to believe? What new quest would I like to be on? What I want to learn? What do I want to pour into the world? All of these treasures are connected and they are conspiring for you and me to get you on the right path. Even if it's hard or scary, Saturn wants our attention to get real about something. So it's time to follow our hearts and release needing to know all the steps, release the outdated mindset and self defeating habits, and to trust and follow the heart's bliss. So, June 11th, what are we doing with y'all? Mercury in Cancer makes a sextile to Venus in Taurus. After we've brushed up against somebody who feels like a hater, or we've been triggered, or we feel slighted by somebody, or just not taken care of, we need to know our people and love them hard. Appreciate your friends who are safe spaces, who deliver these words of affirmation, who cheer us on to keep going, and who provide messages of support. And also, how can we be a safe space? May we be a safe space to ourselves first and to someone else. If we could say something kind, if we can hold space and hold our opinions about things that we don't actually really know about, then let us take the opportunity to be a safe space for someone. But you got to be a safe space for yourself first. So, briefly, Sunday, June 15th, we have this energy that has been building up and we can feel it already. We can feel a lot of these outer planet energies just really brewing. We have Mars in Leo, squaring Uranus and Taurus. This is a point of needing to break free, to liberate ourselves from some type of oppressive situation, from somebody else's ideas or control. This can be a very productive and freeing experience. This can also bring us to a point of unexpected tension and disruption, challenges, sudden violence, explosions. This could be power outages. This could be a fuse. And so there could also be possibilities of accidents that are sudden, disruptive, and life altering. So please be careful because this energy is already activated. We see it in the media. We see people driving crazy. We just want to be really, really careful and just check in with the body first. Really be slow to respond and do your shadow work. Write in your journal so you're not exploding on anybody. And then there is a situation that blows up and we can't take back. So I'm I'm done. I am done for now. My cup has runneth over. My vessel is empty. And so I'll say, I do. I am praying for everyone listening to this podcast and your family, all of your families. I pray that you get everything you ask for. I pray that you become whatever God, Spirit, Universe has called you to be so that you can bless yourself and bless your families and bless the world with whatever gifts you have. And y'all be good. And I will see you next week. And bye for now. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.